Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keisha Davis Johnson, and I am the Executive Director of Greater Westtown Community Development Project. I want to take this time to welcome everyone to Youth Connection Charter School Town Hall meeting for North and Northwest campuses. Yay! We gotta hype it up. We gotta hype it up. So I want to take this time to review our agenda. We have a lot of heavy hitters on the list, and I'm excited to hear from all of them. But first, I just want to talk about Greater Westtown organization. So we have been a part of the West Side of Chicago community for over 35 years. We have provided effective workforce and education services for some of the most vulnerable people in our community. As a founding and long-standing partner of YCCS, we stand firmly with them. In a city where poverty, mental health issues, homelessness plagues our youth, YCCS is more than just an education. They are a safe haven for so many of our young people. It is crucial that CPS renew the charter with terms that allow us to maintain our autonomy. Today, you will hear many speakers that echo this exact same message. So with that, I want to review the agenda for today. To start, we will have words from Juan Carlos Linares, the Executive Director of Association House. So grateful that he's allowed us to use his space. Following, we will have Dr. Laura Johnson, who is the Vice President of YCCS Board, who will discuss the purpose of today's events. Next, we have Dr. Melissa Lewis, Principal of Roviso Campos. She will introduce our elected official and sponsor, Alderman Jesse Fuentes of the 26th Ward, who will deliver the welcome remarks. Then we will have our needs overview presented by Jack Queese, Executive Director of Alternative School Network. Following that, Hersham Carrera will review the CPS renewal process. Next, we will have David Piper introduce YCCS North and Northwest campus profiles, which I'm really excited to share with you guys the many best practices that we do. And then we will have words from our fierce leader, Sheila Vinson, Executive Director of YCCS, who will deliver the call of action. And then finally, we will have closing remarks by Alderman Walter Burnett, Vice Mayor. Thank you for being here today. Let's begin the program.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes a los hispanohablantes. So buenas tardes, gracias por venir, bienvenidos. I'm going to go in English to go quick because I know we want to hear from others. Pero si hay hispanohablantes aquí que quieren hablar después de esta presentación, nomás habla porque aquí estamos, okay? So I'm Juan Carlos Linares. I'm the president and CEO of Association House of Chicago. I know there's a lot of long-standing partners here. It's not a contest, but I am proud to say we just celebrated 125 years here this year. Yes, thank you. And credit for hosting and organizing really goes to our staff, our principal, David Piper. Raise your hand if you're a staff of Association House, the high school. Yes, round of applause for them, please. Credit goes to them. I mean, I literally just drove in here from something else and I got to go back to something else, right? So that really, it's on them, and thank you so much for organizing this so well. Association House of Chicago, we do a lot, right? And I want to talk about our high school in just a moment, but I do want to say everything we do, it's because we have to do it. Half of what we do here at Association House is in our behavioral health programs. Everything from mental health counseling to substance use treatment to being the first in the country, we think, to do day programming for adults with developmental disabilities. If you come here on a Monday through Friday, you see that the building is busy. You see all kinds of people with unique challenges and unique things to share. Our high school is no exception. We are one of the first in Illinois to provide child welfare services. So you know it as foster care services, but also intact services. So really some of the toughest cases come through here at Association House. And we're what's called a Burgos Consent Decree Agency. We have to be bilingual, of course, because of the people who come to us. We help people thrive through our workforce development programs. You're sitting here in our kitchen, where day after day, behind that wall, we have folks who were justice involved, who learn not only how to become excellent culinary experts to go off into really Michelin-starred restaurant jobs, right? But also conflict resolution, how to communicate with each other, right? Life skills that help us move forward. And of course, we are here because of our Association House High School. I am so thankful for the services that are provided through that high school. I do want to say one mention, so also students of Association House High School, raise your hand. I know some of them are in the back serving you today. Round of applause for them, please. Absolutely. I know all the high schools here are deserving of mention. I want to note one quick story. Well, let me start with me real quick. I was born across the way at what was called Norwegian American Hospital. It's now Humboldt Park Health. Thank you to our partners who are here from that institution. I was raised out in Bellwood, though, because my parents said, I got a job out in Bellwood, so I'm going to live in Bellwood. But I was someone who went to food pantries to get food. I was someone who went to the early learning classes. I was someone who, my mother went to English speaking classes, right? So I'm someone who lived the experience of the services we're all offering in addition to the high school. And I'm very proud every time we have folks walking across the stage every June, just to see how far they have come from to achieve their next steps in the journey. And one person I do want to point out in particular, he didn't want me to, but I'm going to anyways. His name is Mr. Damien. He's sitting over here. Yes, round of applause. Raise your hand, Damien. Why do I point him out? Because he really illustrates that journey. He came to us like any other student with so many unique obstacles in his life, right? He'll share them himself if he'd like to share them. But what happens is he had dreams that he wanted to aspire to. I will share, I know you've been to Japan at least a couple times now, Mr. Damien, and he's thrived so well in his educational journey. He's in higher education right now, that we hired him here to be our 3D printing instructor after school. That's the kind of story that we like to see here at Association House. And so the last thing I'll say is, we are here because Damien needed us to be here. You are here because we need your services too. We are proud to be a public school, but we are also proud to be unique as a public school. And we need these unique services here on the west side of Chicago. So with that, I am so proud to be here with you all, fighting the good fight. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker, forgive me, who's going to talk about our purpose, Dr. Laura Johnson, the Board Vice President for YCCS.
Before you start. There you go.
Adult skills at school. All right. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Dr. Laura Johnson. I'm Vice President of the Youth Connection Charter School Board of Directors and also professor at Northern Illinois University. On behalf of the board and staff, I thank you for your support and for providing us with the opportunity today to express the importance of and the need for alternative schools in our communities. And I know I need to make this brief, so I had some comments that I need to do as my official role as a board vice chair, but I also need to say that in addition to that role, representing the YCCS board, I'm also here in my role as someone who's had the privilege and honor of working with, at and with YCCS schools for the last 30 years, in particular Dr. YCCS Campuses High School, as a program director, teacher, volunteer, and for the past few decades as an engaged scholar, learning from and with staff, students, and community members. And I've been to too many graduations. It's one of my favorite events of the year. The graduations, just the pride and the joy and the bliss of the students and their families. It's just such a special feeling. In addition, I'm also a community resident. I live right around the corner over on Augusta and St. Louis, right? And I walk around the park almost every morning and I see the posters at Association House of a young parent graduating. And to me, that's really special because at Dr. YCCS Campuses, we were one of the first programs to have an embedded program for pregnant and parenting youth. And I continue to do that. And at YCCS Campuses for many years, the valedictorians were pregnant and parenting youth. And these were students who at their traditional high schools were told, you can't be successful here, right? We're not gonna provide you with services. We're not gonna respect your rights. We're not gonna support you in your role. But it just shows if given the right amount of supports, all students can be successful, right? And as YCCS talks about, YCCS provides not just a second chance, but a better chance, right? And in many times, the only chance for students to thrive and get their diploma. So I'm very proud of all the roles that I've played with YCCS over the past 30 years. For the past 27 years, YCCS and 17 community-based schools under our umbrella have successfully educated Chicago's most vulnerable students. Over the past 27 years, we've graduated over 27,000 students and have the distinction of being a level 1 school under the Chicago Public Schools for 15 years running. Despite our success and commitment to our student population, YCCS schools under our umbrella are now under threat of being taken over by the Chicago Public Schools, and our future is uncertain. And we often talk about a fight and a struggle, right? And we are preparing for a fight and a struggle. And I've been in struggle with many of the people in this room, and I know we can do it, right? So today you're going to hear from students, alumni, teachers, and stakeholders from YCCS schools in the 26th and 27th wards. You also hear from our school leaders about the challenges and successes facing alternative schools in general and YCCS particularly. We invite you to join in urging the Chicago Public Schools Board of Education, which after yesterday's news, there's a lot in play right now, to recognize the positive impact Youth Connection Charter School has had on our community. By doing so, YCCS students and Chicago youth will continue to receive the quality education, academic, and social emotional support they deserve and require. Thank you. And our next speaker is, Dr. Melissa Lewis, the principal of Dr.
Hi, everyone. I have the distinct honor of introducing one of my very dear friends. I'm going to introduce Jessie Fuentes, 26th Ward Alderperson. Jessie Fuentes, a queer Latina grassroots organizer, educator, and public policy advocate. As the alderperson of the 26th Ward, she brings over a decade of experience in education, criminal justice reform, affordable housing, community development, and sustainability. Growing up in Humboldt Park, amidst the generational trauma of parental substance abuse, mental illness, and job instability, Jessie resorted to dealing with her own struggles of resentment and anger with the juvenile justice system, as experienced by far too many young Chicagoans and our students. Jessie found a home at Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos High School, an alternative high school in the heart of Humboldt Park. Jessie was politicized by educators who understood her life experiences. She graduated high school, earned a degree from NEIU, and returned home to Humboldt Park to serve as the Dean of Students of both Roberto Clemente Community Academy and her alma mater, ensuring that Black and Latino students had the resources to transcend trauma and pursue their aspirations. As Director of Policy and Youth Advocacy at the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, she championed community-driven solutions that address violence, housing affordability, and reentry for returning citizens. As the proud alderperson of the 26th Ward, she has led legislative accomplishments, including sponsoring the resolution for the national fight for parole in place for the 11 million undocumented workers in the United States, the One Fair Wage Ordinance to eliminate the sub-minimum wage for tipped workers, say that 5 times fast, and most recently, the Northwest Side Housing Preservation Ordinance to protect communities from gentrification. She is currently working on developing a citywide youth peace commission through the Peace Book Ordinance and establishing stronger networks of support for unhoused residents. Please help me welcome Jessie Fuentes.
Good afternoon. How are y'all doing today? So I hope that we're here to become inspired enough to fight for the life of YCCS and alternative schools across the city of Chicago. I want to tell you my story just a little bit because I think it'll be able to put things into context for us. I was 16 years old. My mom sent me to Carl Schurz High School at a time where most Puerto Rican families didn't send their young people to Clemente for the fear of what their young people would get into. Well, I told my mom she shouldn't have sent me there either because I got in trouble. I grew up in a household with a mother that suffered from drug addiction and a father that spent an overwhelming majority of my life sort of in and out of prison. I'm one of 6 siblings all of us very different, but all of us having to grow up faster than what we needed to be able to provide for our siblings, to be able to contribute to the household financially, but more importantly, to have to teach ourselves how to socially, emotionally regulate our own emotions given the trauma we had to experience both in our homes and outside of our homes. I was 16 years old, walked into Crossroads High School my sophomore year, and there was a peer of mine who poked fun at my mother's drug addiction. And I was 16 and I was angry and I had a chip on my shoulder and I didn't know how to grapple with that situation. And so I did what I had witnessed my whole life. I fought the person. It's the first time I got into my first school fight. And I went from that school fight into handcuffs, into a police station with expulsion papers and nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. I didn't walk into SHRS and people ask me, how are you doing? What do you need? Or good morning, Jesse, are you hungry? Or you look really tired, how can I help? But I was judged and given consequences without due process for my first school fight. And I was lucky to have had a younger sister that was working at a daycare called Consuelo Lico Regel Daycare right downstairs from Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos Puerto Rican High School. She called me because I was always academically inclined. I never had a problem being smart. Just had a problem behaving. And she said, there's this school right upstairs for my summer job, and I think you'll love it there. And at that point, I had really convinced myself I was done, short of being engaged in education. And she said, but Jesse, the instructors there look like us. They talk like us. And they live in our community. And so I gave it a shot, and I walked into Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos Puerto Rican High School, and I submitted an application. I had an interview with a mentor. His name was Carlos Contreras. And the first thing Carlos told me was, I don't know if you noticed, Jesse, but when you walked in, there's no metal detectors or off-duty police officers or security guards. Because we believe in your humanity, and there is no day on earth we'll treat you like an animal, like every other institution. And it was the first time that I felt like I was walking into an academic institution that was creating a liberatory process the way every other academic institution is supposed to be doing for young people. And so I enrolled, and I thought that was the best part. And it wasn't until I walked into a Puerto Rican studies class and I learned about colonialism and white supremacy and the systems of oppression that my entire life made sense. My mother's drug addiction made sense. My father's experience with the carceral system made sense. And for the first time, I could see my parents' humanity, which allowed me to begin a process of healing for myself. And from that day on, I made a choice. I was going to fight for the independence of Puerto Rico and go down and fight for my community against gentrification, because that is what we deserve. A small school on Division Street in between the largest Puerto Rican steel flags developed the alderperson of the 26th Ward, y'all. That is what we are talking about. We're talking about institutions across the YCCS network that believe in restorative practices, that believe in healing-centered engagement work, that believe in educating young people despite the color of their skin or the zip code they reside in. That is what educational institutions are supposed to be doing in the city of Chicago. But we know that's not the reality. So our young people keep walking into our doors, asking for a home, asking for a sense of belonging, asking to be loved radically. That is what YCCS has been offering young people across the city. Not just a second chance or a third, but a lifeline, a sense of purpose, an opportunity to belong and lead, to be the agents of change that we know young people can be in our communities. And isn't it a shame that the district can't recognize that? That the district won't allow the institutions to educate the young people that they no longer want to. Because when they handed me expulsion papers from SHRS, they were very clear, you don't belong here. Our young people need a place to belong because in absence of an institution, in absence of a home, in absence of a community, our children will be on the streets. Our children will engage in acts of violence because they are surviving and have not yet had the privilege of understanding what the process of liberation is. And we have to give that to them, and we can't give up. And so not only is YCCS important, but all of the programming and sort of resources that Alternative Schools Network provides for our young people, that marriage, that relationship, that sort of collaboration and collective will is what allowed me to be here today. Look, I know we're watching the news, and I know the last 48 hours has caused a bit of confusion. We had an entire board resign. I don't think that's ever happened anywhere. But we do have an opportunity to engage elected officials that sort of have social capital and sway, and that's why I'm here to say I'm going to stand alongside YCCS and fight. Vice Mayor Walter Burnett will close us out today and say he's going to stand with you all and fight. But I also want to tell you we cannot take the upcoming election for granted. Because in January, we will inaugurate an elected school board. That will be a part of determining the future of all of our school systems. And every candidate in this race must understand that YCCS is an institution that we must protect. That alternative spaces for our young people is what our city deserves. We have young people that learn differently. We have young people that have migrated through jungles in different countries just to get here for a better living. You know who's opened their doors? Alternative high schools to that population. And so I want you to stay motivated, and for the educators in the room, for our school leaders, for my real good friend, Dr. Melissa Lewis, I know it's hard. I know leading schools is difficult. I know sometimes we all get phone calls and we have to exist in moments that we would rather not, because we lose young people to gun violence every day. We see the separations of families every day. We see young people and families who have come here who are still in threat of deportation. I spent 10 years in the school system, 6 at Clemente and 4 at YCCS Campuses. I know how hard it is. So we need you to keep fighting for your students. And then we want you to give a little more. And then help fight for the entire district. Help fight for the entire network. Because the system and the district and the board and the CPS leadership must understand that YCCS and ASN, again, is not just a second chance or a third. For many of us, it's a lifeline. An opportunity to lead, and an opportunity to belong. Thank you all for coming here today.
Thank you, Alderman Fuentes. Next, we will have our Executive Director from Alternative Schools Network present, Jack Wiest.
Laura Johnson talked about struggle. It's interesting to think about who Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos was. He had to struggle against the institutions, against Harvard that wanted to withhold his degree as a lawyer, and again he joined with the Irish independence movement and then joined with the Puerto Rican independence movement. That was a fight. It was a fight because institutions always want to stop people from getting their own power and their own ability. We have a situation with the Youth Connection Charter School. It began in 1998. In just 20 years, over 27,000 makes it the largest successful program, re-enrolling tough kids off the street. 27,000 kids getting their high school diploma in 20 years. Now, I mentioned the struggle Dr. Pedro Pizzo Campos has. We have the same struggle against an immovable and destructive force, the Chicago Board of Education. There are some simple things the Board of Ed has been asked to do and they don't do it. They refuse. What are those things? First is that YCCS should be in the innovation and incubation department, not in the option schools. The option schools was created by, I always call her my favorite federal prison convict, Barbara Byrd Bennett, who was the superintendent of the schools, or CEO, whatever they're called. She did 2 years hard time, free lunch and breakfast, but set up the option schools with lots of for-profit schools. It was a disaster. They could have had the option to set up multi-site charters more like YCCS. They didn't. Again, they dug their heels in and did the stupid thing. So first is YCCS should not be in the option schools, but in the innovation and incubation schools. That will stop the evaluation that the option schools are doing. And I have some respect for the people there. They have some background. But there's a good deal of research, most recently through the evidence-based model programming by two guys, Dr. Pickus and Aden, who looked at the alternative element under evidence-based model and the best practices. I'm not sure the people at option schools have a clue about that. I'm not sure they even have a clue about what we've put together in reports about the best practice to get kids off the street with small schools, with good support, with jobs, and people who can, in a small school, can give them the time they need. So secondly, that getting them in the incubation innovation department, when they say incubation, it makes me think like a sperm donor or something. It's all this jargon that is created around education that's stupid. But get them out of options and put them in incubation. And as they were evaluated as a charter school, they were level 1, just below a 1+. Thirdly, the Board of Ed stopped referring students who were struggling or out of school. Back when they were doing it, 4 years ago, YCCS has 4,000 openings. There were 4,000 young people consistently in the YCCS schools. The board stopped referring kids. They did it because so many families have left that schools that could hold 3,000 only had 200. But we did a study with the University of Illinois Great Cities Institute, released it in May, and showed that there are over 17,000 to 18,000 young people, 16 to 20-year-olds, who are out of school and out of work. So there's lots of kids who could benefit from YCCS. The board is not referring those kids. Right now, out of the 4,000 slots, they only have 2,600 filled. What that means is in a year, those 1,400 slots could offer another 2,000 young people. So the Board of Ed's activity is not just evil, it's contradicting to help kids get back to school, as Jesse's described, and succeed and move forward. The fourth thing is the mayor has talked about funding programs not on enrollment, but on need. Well, that's would increase the funding level for YCCS. That's also been looked at, again, in the evidence-based model format. So one is to make sure the schools are filled in enrollments. Two, that they're in the innovation incubation. Three, that stops the evaluation of the option schools. And four, that they then get referrals and are based from YCCS, and the city makes a concerted effort, not just the Board of Ed, but all of the people in all the city departments, if they know a kid, refer them. And they'll find that many young people don't think they can succeed. But when people spend time with them and show that they love them, and that's the real thing, love, they will succeed. So anyway, those are the points. They're simple administrative points, but As I described about Dr. Albizu Campos, it was simple to give him, he had the highest ranked GPA in his class for a law degree, and they kept denying him his law degree. That would have been a simple thing. What I've said would be a simple thing for the Board of Ed to provide another 2,000 young people every year to succeed, go back to school and get their diploma. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you to all of you present here. Thank you for attending on a Saturday afternoon. Thank you for the support that you're showing to Youth Connection and the schools represented today. YCCS is going through its renewal process. The renewal cycle in the past has usually been a 5-year cycle. Because of the process that the board has put in place, those cycles are being shortened. They're going from 5 years to 4 years, to some schools getting 3 years, others 2 years. And for some that are doing really, really bad, they're doing 1 year. But we're gonna go through the renewal process that CPS has put in place. CPS has put this in place to provide a comprehensive review and evaluation of how the schools are doing academically, financially, and operationally. And what they will do is they'll review the reviews. They have done visits to the campuses in May. They're doing visits now. And through those visits, they'll create recommendations to the Chicago Public Schools to say, you know, we're recommending this particular charter, YCCS, to get, and then they'll put a number in there. CPS and the Option School Network will do that recommendation for the Chicago Public Schools. Let's go to the next slide just to again show the next one, please. Again, you know, it's the potential recommendations are 5 years, 5 plus years. 5 years with renewal with conditions and shortened renewal terms with conditions. Let's go to the next one. Again, these are the things that they will be looking at: academic performance, financial performance, inclusive programming, and operational performance. The timeline, like I already mentioned, is they did a renewal kickoff back in the spring of 2024. They have done visits to the schools in May. They're doing visits currently. And then they are going to be doing a public hearing in the winter, and they will bring the recommendations probably in March or April to the Chicago Board of Education. They have developed a survey, and as parents or students who are present here, the schools will be in charge of allowing you to access those surveys and give feedback to CPS as to how you feel about the school. So they will be distributing that. One of the things that CPS does to present the recommendation is looking at the academic performance. So let's go to the next slide, the academic performance. There are two distinctions. One is you're in good standing if you score 3.0 or above. You're in intensive academic support if you score 2.9 and below. And let me just really quickly, these are the metrics that they are looking at. How students are doing in math and reading, the 1-year graduation, credit attainment, average attendance rate, growth in attendance, and then how they do in terms of the post-secondary placement. We have 4 or 5 schools represented here, so I'm just gonna take you through the data, and you'll see how the schools are doing. For the 22 and 23, we have data for the schools. For the 24 year, we're still waiting. We're in the process of finalizing that, and so we'll be waiting for that score from CPS. But for the 22 and 23, you can see here that Aspira Pantoja did a 3.2 and a 3.4, which means that we have met the required standards. Association House, which is the high school that is graciously hosting us today, last year they did a 4.1, which is pretty high. The highest is 5, just so you know. And then the previous year they had done a 2.8. Yes, we need to say that, right? CPS for the 2022 year, they used data that included pandemic, and obviously that affected how well the schools did because just of all the issues with COVID. Pedro Albizu Campos, you can see again, even when using pandemic data, they scored a 3.5 in 2022, 3.8 last year. Truman Middle College, they did 3.5 in 2023 and 3.6 on the year before that. Westtown did a 3.8 and a 3.3. So overall, pretty good scores. And then, all the scores add up to how Youth Connection as a charter does. And here you could see that while we don't have all the data, we sort of did an approximation. We're looking at this year and they have the academic performance at 3.2. We did 3.5 the year before, and even when we use pandemic data, YCCS as an overall charter, as the connection of all the 17 campuses, we score at 3.6, which brings us to an average of 3.4. So academically, we have performed very, very well. They also look at the financial performance of the charter, and this is looking at all the financial data from all the campuses, but then we look at how YCCS has managed those funds. And there are 3 measurements. You could exceed standards, meet the standards, or you could not meet the standards. And these are our key financial indicators and the results. Again, for the 24, the data is still being gathered. In 23, we met and exceeded all the standards. In 22, we met and exceeded almost all the standards. The one that you see that says there does not meet is because at that point, the standard required that YCCS would have to save about 10% of its budget in order to meet that metric. That metric was changed because that was impossible to meet. And when they changed the metric and made it more reasonable, then we exceeded that standard, as you can see on this slide. There are 2 other things that they'll be looking at: inclusive programming, which has to do with how we deal with diverse learners, with our English learners, discipline, teacher licensure, in the organizational, how we deal with our homeless students, with the safety, enrollment and addition, parent issues, how do we deal when a parent complains, and there are a couple of other things. We don't have the full data for that, so we're not presenting data on that. If anybody has a question, again, CPS has presented this as the person that you can reach out to. You can see the number there is 553-3064. The name is Jennifer Thomas, and that is her email. I also know that we have a staff here from the Options Network, and I would just like to say hello, Molly, and if you want to, just a quick introduction, just so people know. And
everyone, I'm Melanie Glacier. I'm the Director of Operations in Options Network. I just want to say I'm so grateful to be here. Love seeing all the support for the schools, and really looking forward to the stakeholder testimonials. I know I went to a previous one, and that's really powerful hearing from the community members, students, parents, families, about the impact that the schools are having. So grateful to be here.
thank you, Molly. Appreciate it. So CPS is offering a transparent and fair evaluation renewal process. We went through the slides, we went through the things that they require. What you have heard so far and what you will hear through the next presenters is what YCCS is asking CPS in the renewal contract, and that is to give us a fair contract. A contract that will recognize that YCCS is doing a unique and excellent job as documented through exceeding performances, not just for the past 2 years, but for the past 27 years. YCCS knows the practices that lead to successful student achievement and successful accomplishments, as you will hear also through the testimonials that are coming today. YCCS is asking CPS to respect the practices of YCCS and not impose those methods and practices that, while imposed on district schools, are practices that have caused students to search better options by attending and graduating from YCCS. Let YCCS continue practices that are allowed by charter law and that have worked for our students. Thank you.
Greetings, happy Saturday. Thank you to everybody for coming. I have some note cards, and I'm gonna talk about the program model we offer at Association House, what's unique about it, and how we support our students. Campos will do the same, and Westtown will do the same. Spira's not here. But before I get into our program design and the unique supports we give, it's Saturday, so I'm just gonna give a brief anecdote about a Saturday in August, about 7 years ago. Again, everyone's here on Saturday, thank you. Usually in August, I spend my Saturdays at street fests, at Community Fest. This particular Saturday, 7 years ago, I was at Hope Fest, right? And I have a little table, and I have my flyers, and I have everything set up. And a parent came up to me and said, my daughter is in CPS schools, but we're not getting the outcomes that we like to see. What is Association House, and how can you support? And for the last 20 years, I've been trying to define what alternative schools are. And I still have difficulty defining what an alternative school is. And I think everybody has a different concept of what an alternative school is. And a lot of times they're not positive, when you picture what an alternative school is. So I'm trying to describe what an alternative school is to this parent. And they trusted me, right? And the greatest asset, the greatest treasure you have, and I'm a parent, is your child. So for this parent to trust us with their child was a leap of faith. And we got the privilege, I say privilege, that this parent trusted us and brought their child to our school to enroll. This parent's gonna speak pretty soon, and it's gonna be a powerful testimonial. But it reminds me of that Saturday. So when I talk about who we are and what we do, we're alternative. That doesn't mean the kids are alternative. That means we're alternative. What we do, can't define it, is we love kids. When a kid comes to us, we see them and we love on them. And we love on them and we love on them like no one's ever loved on them before, and we hold on to them, right? Thank you, I'll pause. And that doesn't mean every kid is a success. But that does mean we've exhausted every opportunity. We've done it the hard way. We don't let the kid go because it's easy for us. We hang on to the kid. And I will stand up and I will point at my attendance rate. And some principals, are looking to get the kid who's not attending out because that's hitting my average daily attendance, right? I'm not. And I have a 60% daily attendance, 65% pandemic. It was in the 40s. But I'll point to my attendance rate and say, yeah, that's my attendance rate. You know why? Because I'm holding on to these kids. It's not about my numbers, it's about these kids. That's what makes me an alternative school. I'm just getting going. And so, we have students here, and we have the student, and we never forget a kid. And when a kid comes back, much like the alderperson said, they felt the love. So they pass that love on. And they make referrals. And our students are our greatest source of strength and greatest source of referral, and I can't wait till they speak. And maybe they can define an alternative school for you, because I still can't. But it's flexibility. So as we talk about our 3+1 model, that's multiple pathways that YCCS offers. And the first one is flexibility to meet the student where they're at. What do they need? They can come to Association House, the social service agency, and get interventions for behavioral health, for a food pantry. We have a laundry on site. You can't come to school because you need to do laundry? Bring it. And bring your whole family's laundry too. And we have detergent, and we have everything they need. That's flexibility. And I'll go to my grant team and I'll say, I need a laundry machine. And guess what my grant team's gonna do? Get us a laundry machine. That's flexibility, that we're gonna meet the students where they're at. That's in our interventions. So how do we move forward together as a unique charter, as an alternative school, whatever that means meeting the kids where they're at. How do we move forward together with CPS? We just have to recognize our uniqueness and have that flexibility to continue to meet the students where they're at. There needs to be a place for YCCS. So the principals at YCCS might start rolling their eyes. Planet Fitness Black Card, right? Planet Fitness Black Card. This is something I talk about, and this is how we can be unique to support our students. You can sign up for Planet Fitness, and you get the membership to Planet Fitness, or you can get the Black Card. When you get the Black Card, you can go to any Planet Fitness. Getting off work, go to this one. Cross town, go to this Planet Fitness. YCCS is a model where every kid gets the Planet Fitness Black Card. They don't get Planet Fitness, they get Planet. You are struggling at Association House? I'm calling up Dr. Lewis. You have supports for this kid? They don't lose enrollment. They're at Compost the next day. I'm calling up Adam, principal of Westtown. They're at Westtown the next day, still on track to graduation, a warm handoff. They have the Planet Fitness black card. That's what makes us unique and alternative schools. And they're doing the same for me. And the transfer. We are a school of transfers. And CPS and the state, and they talk about transfer that it's a negative thing. And it is. We need kids in stable schools, absolutely neighborhood schools. But they say the transfer, we need to avoid the transfer. The kids I look at their Aspen history. They didn't transfer for the first time they came to my school. They transferred elementary schools 4 times, right? 8 times. And there's a category of students called medically fragile students. I want a category of students called environmentally fragile students, because that's what these kids are. So when we say let's avoid the transfer, yes, but some kids are dependent upon the transfer, and they say, Piper, I love you, and I want to keep coming to school, but I'm on the far south side now. And it takes me 2 hours to get to school, and I'm on a train to a bus. But I want to keep coming to Association House. Cool. But then their 9 o'clock arrival is 10, and then it's 10:30, and we're still trying to support that kid. So it's time for a transfer, because they're environmentally fragile. And those of you that were at Sullivan House, I'm calling up Sullivan House on the south side, on South Chicago Avenue, and they're getting in there too. So those are the interventions we put in place, and an alternative school, whatever that means. It means staff who signed up to work at an alternative school because they want to love the kids. And it means students who were referred to an alternative school because someone told them they're gonna feel love. My staff's back there. I'm gonna be back up to praise y'all. They love on those kids. So that's the interventions. I'm going to bring up Compost and Westtown. They're going to talk about other elements of that flexibility of that 3+1. But interventions and support, that's key. Thank you.
If anybody knows the relationship that David and I have, we fight a lot, because he knows not to come on my side of the park. But what is true is that when he's struggling with a student, he calls me. And I know that that baby just became mine, because he trusts me enough to pick up the phone and call. And I know that's gonna be one of his kids that he's depending on me to bring to the finish line. And that's trust. That's trust. And he knows which one he owes me for. But anyway, he knows. But I do want to say that I'm entering my 7th week of my 6th year at Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos High School. And I have a wonderful team. And I can tell you that without them, none of this is possible. None of it is possible. But I'm not new to Albizu Campos. I had 3 siblings that attended Albizu Campos, and all for very different reasons. My older brother became justice involved very early and needed support. So he was mandated to attend school. And he found a place with Executive Director Marvin Garcia, and I thank him for getting my brother across that line. My sister needed an alternative placement. She needed Albizu Campos because she needed a smaller school. She needed to be seen, to be heard, to be loved on, because she just needed that attention. She knew that our neighborhood school was just too big for her. And she knew that she would be lost. And Dr. Lopez back there loved on her. And he knows it because my sister credits him. My younger brother, now that one, my mom said he had no choice. Because with the 2, my other siblings, she found success with Albizu Campos. And my youngest brother was just becoming street involved. He was losing his way. And my mom knew she can count on Albizu Campos for support. So when I tell you that the work that I do is deeply personal, it is. Because I see my family in these kids. I see my mom in my parents. I see my aunts and uncles. And that's the slew of cousins that have come through Albizu Campos. I am Albizu Campos. I am Humboldt Park. I live in this community. So let me tell you, so much so that when I leave here, I'm going across the street to my son's football game. I am community. This is what this means to me. If I wanted to go and work for CPS, I could do that tomorrow, honey. I got a doctor to my name. I can go do that. But I choose Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos for a reason. This is hard work. The work that I do and that my team does matters to us. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to leave me alone. No, leave me alone for real. Because I have people that will do the work that I don't want to do. I don't want to be bogged down with compliance when I have a parent in my office who's struggling. But you want me to respond to your email? Come on now, I ain't got time for that. There are people that can do this work, but you all need to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Why are you making it harder for me to do this work? Harder for David to do this work? Harder for Adam to do this work? Leave me alone. Let us do what we do best, and I will take care of these kids. I can promise you that because they're mine. They're my neighbors. I got this. Leave me alone. And let me tell you how much, when other schools were taking out truancy officers, we hired our own. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. I will knock on the door, and she's right there. She will jump a fence. She will be in an alley. You are struggling with your kid at home, call me. Call me, and I promise you, we will figure it out. But yes, Sandra will be there. Yes, she will. Yes, she will. And I'm telling you right now, the work that we do matters. But I need CPS to get out of the way. I need y'all to just leave us alone. We have been doing this work for 27 years. Do not talk to me about practice, because I got practice, honey. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing because I'm doing what mattered to me and my family at the time. I think about my siblings. I think about my mom and how she struggles with us. Don't play me. I got this. Don't leave me alone. I'm honest. I'm truly honest about that because the work that I do matters. I don't need you to tell me what to do. I got this. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. Who I learned that work from is Dr. Lopez, Marvin Garcia, because they came before me. And the legacy of Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos will outstand everybody in this room. I went off script. I'm sorry for that, but I was supposed to talk about our active learning environments. So, I just want to reiterate that as a network, we are, Sheila said, don't even worry about it. Okay, well, we're gonna move on over. I do want you all to understand that the work that we do matters. And what's happening inside classrooms is teaching young people about the systems and the structures that are here to tear us down. And unfortunately, I'm no stranger to that. Because I'm right now fighting a system that's trying to tear me down. And the school that I lead, and the staff that I lead, and the families that I lead. And we're teaching about that every day inside of our classrooms. Thank you, you all.
Hey everyone, I'm Adam Wagner. I'm the principal at Westtown Academy. This is my 25th year with YCCS. Thank you. We're going to hear from our CEO, Sheila Vincent, soon, and she's going to tell you some of the history of YCCS. But I've been there from almost the beginning. And I started on the west side at Austin Career Education Center, where I was a teacher for 22 years. I became the assistant principal there, and then I moved over to YCCS West High School for 3 years, where I was assistant principal. And now, this week, I just celebrated my 1-month anniversary as Westtown Academy's principal. So when I tell you that I've seen it all, I've seen it all. And that's not true, because next week I'll see something brand new, which is what is so amazing about education and so amazing about our students at YCCS. You never know what to expect, but you always, always come with love and hope and the amazing energy that our students bring, that our teachers bring, that our support staff brings, that everyone in the organization brings is unprecedented. And it comes from the students. We love to talk about CPS. We love to talk about districts. We love to talk about administration. We don't talk enough about students. We don't talk enough about teaching and learning. That's what schools are. That's the heart of our schools. Our students are number one. And David has trouble defining alternative. I do too, but I know what we're not. And I know that we're not traditional. Traditional does not put students first. Traditional is about accountability. Traditional is about numbers. It's about budgets. It's not about students. It's not about young people. It's not about human beings. It's a machine. It's a system. And it doesn't work for most students. So it breaks my heart when barriers are placed on students being able to go somewhere where they might be more successful. Traditional does not work. Traditional is obsolete. It's out of date. It's over with. Traditional has not worked for 100 years in this country, except to steer young people into the directions that the machine wants those young people to go. And that has nothing to do with teaching and learning our young people what they need to be something different than the position that they were born into. Traditional means stay in your lane. Traditional means go to a school that is going to treat you like a person who has no upward mobility. It's going to treat you like your destiny is already written. That's what traditional is there for. Traditional is boring. Traditional is one size fits all. Traditional has nothing to do with listening to what young people need. And so if you were looking for a definition of alternative, it's the opposite of all of those things. We put our students first. We listen to our students. One of the tenets of our competency-based education model is student voice and student choice. And we take that very seriously. I was supposed to talk about our multiple pathways to graduation. We have a lot of pathways to graduation.
That's right.
I got 3 pages of alternatives to the traditional pathway to graduation. But I'm not going to read you all these 3 pages because all of these things on here have to do with what the student needs. And we make it so that that student gets what they need. It's about differentiation. It's about individualizing the needs of students. And that's not traditional. That's alternative. And that's what we stand for. Thank you.
So there are some amazing principals at the YCCS schools dedicated beyond the limit of dedication. But let's not just hear about principals. We're going to call up some testimonials now. We're going to call up students, parents, community groups, supporters. But let's begin with parents. So all the parents that have come to give testimonials, please come up and stand here, and then we can take turns just talking about your experience and how YCCS uniquely supported your child.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we have the parents queue up, I'm going to talk a little bit about the community billboard. And the community billboard that I'm going to talk about today is our school board. This is a crucial election, and like Alderman Fuentes said, we in the last 48 hours had a major change. And what does that mean for our students, and what does that mean for our schools? That means we have a voice and we have a choice. When you walked in, you signed in and then you saw pictures on the wall. These are the people who are going to represent you. These are the things that they're saying they want to put forth for our schools and community. YCCS wants you to know who's going to represent your constituency, your town, the places that you live. And so why the vote is important, because your voice matters. You can make a change. You can make sure that your school stays inside your community. You can make sure that what Association House has done for the last 100 years keeps on going. And when we talk about Sullivan House, which was earlier this week, 50 years they've been in the community. And we see what our community schools have done for us. We see the fruits of that labor. They stand here and they talk to you and they say, we're standing up for you and we want you to continue that. So vote. Your voice needs to be heard, and who sits on that school board should represent you and your community. Thank you. And do we have any school board candidates in the house right now?
Okay, Jason.
So come on up, Jason. And let the people hear from you and what you have to offer as you sit on that school board if you are elected, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is exciting. I was just knocking doors, talking with neighbors, and now to get the opportunity to come and address you all, it's an honor. Wasn't originally on the agenda, but I'm grateful for the adaptation here. My name is Jason Dones. I am running in the 3rd district, the district that I grew up in. My background, so I'm a former teacher, lifelong educator. Education has been all I know. I started in the classroom, transitioned to teacher coaching because I saw too many black and brown men especially come into the profession, get quickly burnt out, and leave. I transitioned to supporting and mentoring teachers to a point where now I get the opportunity and the privilege to serve in an institution that now we work with universities and teacher prep programs to help strengthen their recruitment and retention processes. Because again, we are bleeding talent. People are not choosing the career of education, and sometimes when I look at the conditions for our educators, I don't blame them. That's why I'm working here. That's why I'm doing this right now. But I also have the privilege of running for the school board, and I'm not a saint. My son goes to our local neighborhood school, Moose Elementary. So that's right. It's our neighborhood school, and so I say I'm not a saint because people are, how you do this? How you like this? There's a lot of responsibility. Yes, that's true. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I'm pulled every which direction. Hello again. But my son and my son and my second son Felix are dependent on what this board does. They have everything to win or lose as a result of what this board's decisions are. And so I know you're here. I know you're engaging with the various opinions and different questionnaires and different things that we are saying we are trying to run for. I want you to know I'm running for what my neighbors care about. I'm running for what working families care about. That's why I've been endorsed by the entire Northwest Side slate of progressives. That's why I've been endorsed by the Chicago Federation of Labor. It's why I've been endorsed by Cook County Colleges Teachers Union and more. I'm here to be a co-governor. I'm here to listen and to learn. Now, one thing about your group here, I think about when it comes to my experience in education, I started at the high school level, and at a primarily African-American black school. Too many young people at that point did not see education as the place for them. I felt it myself. I didn't understand what school was for. Thanks to God, I figured it out in just enough time to have access to a quality school. But I had to get there myself because teachers themselves also, when I was growing up, kind of knew what schools were resourced and which ones were not. And so we need pathways for those who are lost now, who are just waiting to be found. And that's the work that you all are doing. And I am grateful for that work. And it's my belief that you need the flexibility to be grounded in community. You need the flexibility to design from and within your community, like the amazing Pedro Albizu Campos in my own home community, trying to find those who look like me, try to affirm those who look like me, because that is a true pathway to achievement. You'll see sometimes on the news, you'll see, oh, it's culturally responsive practice, and they're focusing on the wrong things. They should just be focusing on math, focusing on reading scores. They're missing the core point. Young people, especially those who have not yet found the reason for why school exists for them, need to be affirmed. That is what keeps them coming back to school. That is what keeps them achieving, and that's why I have been certified culturally responsive teaching practitioner. It's why I want to bring that to the board. I had the privilege of co-writing our state's first ever culturally responsive teaching standards for that reason. It is not extra credit. This is the pathway to achievement for those who are dependent on it the most. And so I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful for the work that you do. I do want to acknowledge that on the questionnaire for the media, there were places where I said neither, it's more complicated, and they decided to choose yes or no for me. And I have to ask myself why. But that's why I'm here, because I want to clear up whatever questions you have. I want to know what matters most to you, because again, that's how I want to run. It's not to earn a vote and disappear. It's to stay in community. That makes me so much stronger. The only reason I'm not feeling imposter syndrome or scared about this job is because I know I have all of you with me. And so I'm grateful for the time. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't want to take up extra time, but I do want to let y'all know if you have specific questions about education, policy, practice, the needs. I want to, again, learn from you and the schools that you run, the schools that you care about. So please engage with me. Ask me those tough questions. Get into my mind. I've spent 15 years trying to figure out how to make sense of Chicago public schools. I'm going to spend the next 15, but I hope you're with me. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy Alvarado, and I'm with my daughter, Isabella and Cruz. Isa, can you kind of just wave? This is my daughter, Isabella. Cruzita, can you say hi? I'm a parent. I was born and I've lived in Chicago my entire life. I've been a CPS teacher for 25 years and a CPS parent for 21. And I'm here to share our experience with you with Association House. My daughter, Isabella, attended and graduated from Association House in 2018. I think that a lot of us, including myself, think that alternative schools can be less quality than other schools, maybe even a last resort or a place where there's nowhere else to go. At least that's what I regretfully thought, But if I could go back in time, it would have been our first choice. And ever since, I've seen it as a high quality, equitable choice. My daughter Isabella started out at a child parent center for pre-K and then attended Pritzker's Regional Gifted Center starting in kindergarten, where the students were taught a curriculum a year more advanced than their grade level. In the 6th grade, she applied and was accepted to Whitney Young's Academic Center. She was the first in our family to ever apply and get accepted to a selective enrollment program. So we thought that this was her ticket and our ticket to success. Internships, scholarships, college, a good future. But in the 9th grade, she crashed. The pressure, the expectations, lack of individual support and care that she needed. She felt like she was just a number. She was falling behind and she couldn't cope. I will get emotional, I'm ready. She became anxious, depressed, and ultimately suicidal. No. Landing her in an inpatient hospitalization program. At that time, I was a teacher at Roberto Clemente High School, and I figured if I can't, and I'm not able to take my eyes off of her, I'm gonna bring her with me to Clemente. At the time, they had IB programs, AP programs, I think they still might, but she didn't want those programs, and the programs that she wanted, she didn't have access to. So again, she felt the pressure and the expectations that she couldn't meet. So one summer at the Hope Fest, I was promoting a program at Clemente, and I met David when I was walking around, David Piper, the principal, and I was just interested in learning more. And the more I learned, it just seemed too good to be true. The Association House was it had a small class size, it was close to work, close to home, Quality class instruction, individualized attention, a professional team available to my daughter weekly, if not daily, regular communication with me as her parent in person, by phone, by email, realistic classes, course load and credit completion. It was exactly what she needed and exactly what I wanted. When we walked in today, everybody still remembered us. So she started her sophomore year here, and by the time she was a junior, she'd already completed most of her high school required credits, so she was also provided with a paid internship helping out in the office. She was starting to feel productive, needed, comfortable in a setting and in a workload she felt she could handle. She enjoyed coming to school, and she even attended an LGBT citywide prom. The following summer, she was able to participate in an after-school matters cooking program. The cooking program is what she had wanted initially at Clemente. And at 17 years old, she graduated. She received the STAR Scholarship and then her associate's degree at Wright College in biology. After, due to COVID, she took a short break, but she was still able to receive another STAR Scholarship to transfer into Northeastern Illinois University, where she currently attends. Working on her bachelor's in biology with a minor in environmental studies. She's also a substitute special education classroom assistant with me in Chicago Public Schools. So everything that we had hoped for from CPS, from the gifted programs, the selective enrollment programs, the options program, failed us. But everything we were hoping for in terms of a good education and internships and scholarships and opportunities, she got because of the Association House. So when we look at the students and are quick to maybe judge as to why they would attend an alternative school, or when we say we'd never, we need to consider the factors prior that led them to the opportunity to come here. We need to know it's a quality option. It's a first choice. The Association House was a huge blessing and a lifesaver for us. And we, we know that without it, she might not have made it otherwise. Fortunately, we didn't have to find out. And we hope that more people become aware as to how essential the school and alternative schools are in our communities. And just imagine what would happen to our youth if they weren't. Thank you for this time and opportunity.
Good afternoon. My name is Camille Ivy, and not only am I a YCCS supporter and parent, I'm also a YCCS employee. For the past 3 years, I have been the principal of YCCS's Youth Connection Leadership Academy. However, I began my career in 2008 at Greater Westtown under the leadership of the late William Levy and the current executive director, Keisha Davis Johnson, as my principal. I started as a support staff member and quickly transitioned into a role of an English teacher. Walking through WTA's doors every day gave me and all of my peers the training we needed to reach and support Chicago's youth who had been dropped from their previous high school. The interruption in their educational journey made me question how we can be different and help them achieve their academic goals. YCCS and Westtown provided us with the training we needed to not only advance in our own learning, but to focus on and all the obstacles and barriers that prevented our students from being able to succeed. With all of YCCS's campuses practicing a holistic approach to support our students, we maintain an 80% and above graduation rate in all the years I've been a part of this great organization. The consistent success of our students helped me become a YCCS supporter for life. During my career at WTA, my oldest son had a rough year at his school. Unfortunately, during his junior year, my late father became very ill, as well as my son's grandmother. That year, I was not able to be as active in his educational journey as I usually am because I was, helping sick family members. This took a toll on my son, and his grades reflected this. Although he passed all but one of his classes, he barely made it. But the one class that he failed was gym. His school wanted to hold him back an entire year because he failed gym. My argument that was simply an elective was not heard. I begged for them to allow him to make up the credit in summer school. That was rejected. Lastly, I pleaded if he could transfer to another school within their district. The answer was no. Their charter did not allow that. I know this may sound crazy, but Westtown was not my first choice to enroll my son. I did look at every YCCS school because I support them. I love YCCS. So I knew it was going to be a YCCS school because of my commitment and serving dropouts and helping them reach their full potential. I knew our practices work. However, my son convinced me, and I am so glad that he did. I asked my co-workers not to treat him any differently from any of our other students. Do not show him favoritism. Do not allow him to break the rules and just come sit in my office. Westtown staff adhered to my requests. So much so that they made me sign up for parent nights. They didn't bring me documents, they emailed me everything. They called me during the time I gave them to set up things and discuss his journey. The professionalism was amazing. Driving him to school every day was fulfilling, but seeing him walk through the doors of a great educational institution where I received a concrete foundation for my career brought me an abundance of happiness. But the greatest happiness was being able to call my son's name at his commencement ceremony as he earned his high school diploma. Westtown Academy. You know I cry a lot. So Westtown Academy, I'm sorry, helped my son stay on track. I can't even see. And complete his high school education on time. And as I close, last week I created a reflective survey for my own staff. And one of the questions I put on there is, would you enroll your own child at this school? I am so proud to report that 93% of my staff said yes. Now the other 7%, I don't know their apprehensiveness. Could it be that they didn't want their child at work with them all day like I didn't? Okay? So not wanting staff to treat them any differently from the other students, that was my fear. Not only did that not happen, but Westtown helped my son complete his high school education, and through their shipping and receiving program, gave him the opportunity to earn his forklift license, making him one of the youngest employees at his job to ever hold that coming in the door. And might I add, a job that Westtown helped my son get after graduation is the only reason he couldn't be here to speak today, because he's working. So I do thank YCCS and my foundation, Westtown Academy. I worked it, I'm working it, and I see the proof of what we do. The work we do is amazing, it's community-based. I bring my family on almost all events, and we just love the help that we're giving students who didn't fit in the bubble that we probably were able to succeed in. So thank you, and YCCS forever. Yeah.
Let me get my tissue now. Hello, everyone. My name is Tennille Hardy. My daughter, Genesis Hardy, attended Association House High School. Genesis, a lot of our stories are so much the same. It's just so amazing. Genesis was a very outgoing, very just, I love people type of person. She graduated from Elaine Locke Grammar School, and she attended Westinghouse High School initially. In 2019, I lost two brothers to gun violence, one in January, then another in August. And she just started declining, just going down. And then she had to start her freshman year of high school in the house during COVID, not around people. So she just got really depressed. She's been hospitalized several times. And so when she finally went back to Westinghouse her sophomore year, she was trying, she was struggling. It was a lot going on. She tried to self-medicate with marijuana, then found out she's one of the few people in the world that's allergic to marijuana. So that has been a struggle, because when she smokes marijuana, she has a psychotic episode. So we were dealing with that. So she was at Westinghouse and, dealing with so much depression and things like that. And so she eventually said, Mom, I need a smaller school. I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. It's too many people. And I'm like, you don't want to be around people? Like, you love people. She's like, I can't do it anymore. And so her counselor at Westinghouse went through, and we were looking at schools, and Association House came up, and I think she liked it because it said something about cooking, because she loves to cook. I was just like, level 1 sounds good to me. And then we found out that she was too young. She couldn't come. She was very devastated. And so we ended up finding another alternative school for her to go to. But for me, it was really too hands off. It was kind of just like, here's the computer, sit here all day, and good luck. I'm not gonna name drop. It was just like, here's the computer, good luck. And then she ended up having issues there. She was still depressed, going through stuff, smoked weed, had an episode there, and they were kind of just like, yeah, we don't know what to do. But by this time she had turned 16. I'm like, don't even worry about it. I know what to do. See y'all later. So when I brought her here, she sat in Mr. Piper's office. She was just coming out of catatonia. She could barely answer a question. And I'm like, this man gonna think we crazy. And he gonna be like, no, but he was smiling. He was like, yes, okay, we can do this. He was just so encouraging. And I'm just looking at her, who can barely understand what's going on at the moment. But I told him, I'm like, I promise you, she's getting better. She's gonna be a different person when she gets back here, So I rode her. And that was the only time that I stepped foot in Association House. That was the first and only time. But calls, emails, everything that she needed. Miss D was on her back. Like, she had a lot. She was still going through. She was still struggling, but she was making it. They were so supportive of everything that she was going through. She would be at home and said, I'm not going back to school. And I'm like, no, you're going to go. And I would talk to Mr. Piper, and we would work it out, and she would be back in school. And it was a struggle. And my main thing in the end was like, we got to get her out of here as soon as possible. I just need her home with me for a couple of months, away from other kids, away from everything. I just need her home with me. So she was able to finish school early in December, which was awesome. And, we got her back on track, got her on meds. Everything was great. She came back. She graduated. She's not here today because she's currently at Governor State University, majoring in psychology. Life is not perfect, but we're making it, and they still check on her. She was just here a couple of weeks ago. They gave her school supplies, and it just feels good to be supported. It feels good to have somebody not give up on your child. Yes. This school is needed so much. It is needed. And I cannot even believe that we even have to stand here and fight for this program and for YCCS when all these kids are struggling. And it makes no sense to me, but common sense ain't common. So I'm just totally in support of the school, and whatever I can do when they call me to come, I'm like, and say what and do what, and they're just like, just come and speak. And I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I just appreciate everybody here for just loving on my baby. And I pray that you guys are around forever. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Angel Monge, and I am a former graduate of Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos High School this year in 2024. And I am well, I just want to go ahead and say it right now. But now I am a first generation college student at Northeastern Illinois University. And today we're hearing amazing stories about, how alternative school and, the support and the staff and everyone was changed their life. And I wanted to say that is true, because without Campos, I wouldn't be here right now. And so I just wanted to talk about how I got here. And so we begin, obviously, I was a freshman in 2020, so I guess y'all can, realize that I was a virtual in high school in 2020. So it was kind of hard for me, but I managed to do it. I was able to do it. I didn't have, really good grades, but I did have okay grades. Then after that, I just started struggling. When I came back into my sophomore year in 2021, I could not do it. Every day I used to come home to my mom and tell her, I can't do it. I need something else. There has to be something else for me, because there's no way that a regular education or a high school, because I was at Schurz, there's no way that I'm gonna have to be at Schurz for 4 years. Even thinking that right now makes me wanna, I don't know, I can't even think of it. So with that being said, my grades and my attendance were absolutely through the floor. So then me and my mom decided that it would be best for me to drop out when I was 16. It wasn't easy for us to do it, because I really did want to get my education, even if it was, whatever, even if it was hard. So I was kind of devastated about that. So I just, dropped out. But then my mom decided to enroll me into Campos. And so, there I met some of the most amazing people I have ever met in my life. It's just really, how do I say it? It was just an amazing experience for those 3 years. There was always someone to ask me how was I doing. They knew how I was doing every day. Every second they kept asking me, how are you doing? So,
It's true.
yeah, she's laughing because she's the one who kept telling me that every day. But yeah, this was something I never thought high school was about. I always thought that high school was just, you study and then you leave. So at Campos, I was basically family there. I was very heavily involved in school affairs. And actually one of my first teachers is sitting, my first teacher at Campos is sitting right there, Audrey Adams. Miss Audrey Adams, my English 4 teacher. And, obviously it was, hard to start again. But I think I really did hit it off with the staff and, everyone at the school. So it was the best decision for me. And so also, I was doing, my grades were even better than I could imagine, my attendance. And I was in a lot of programs, including the culinary program at the school, where I managed to become the culinary leader with the culinary teacher, Sandra, right there. And this helped me really get on a faster track to graduate. And I was able to graduate in less than 3 years. And I graduated with a near 4.0 credit. It was not a 4.0, but near. Like, of course, there was other opportunities such as dual enrollment with Northeastern. I was able to get 3 credit hours in public speaking. And of course, I'm so rude. I wouldn't be here without her, my mom. I want to thank her so much because without her, I wouldn't be here today. Like, well, I mean literally, but without her help and her support and her, she was constantly pushing me to do better, I wouldn't have been here right now. And I'm always grateful for her. And I will always be. Like, no one can ever make me not grateful for her. And so, of course, in this June, I graduated, of course, with a 4.0 GPA and 3 credit hours from Northeastern. And so now I am a current biology major at Northeastern Illinois University, El Centro campus with, and it wouldn't be possible without Dr. Lewis, my mom, all of the amazing staff and faculty at Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos High School, so y'all better not shut it down. And so yeah, this was really all I wanted to talk about, but I'm really thankful, and we're not going back, we are staying here, and that's it, we're staying here, no one can make us leave, no one's gonna make us leave. So I say to the city, y'all can do whatever y'all want, but we're always gonna be here. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria. I am Angel Onge's mom. The hardest part was to me to see Angel struggle, but I had to make the decision to enroll him into
Dr.
Campos. And, even though I didn't know what I was getting him into, but I knew I had to do something, and immediately, because he was like already in the point where he didn't want to go to school at all. And I couldn't let that happen because he had dreams. And I had to make those dreams for him. And however, I realized that it was the best decision I ever made. And I am very grateful to the faculty and staff, because the way they treated my son, it was like their son. They treated me like she was like my sister, my mother, and we felt family. And that's what we need here. We need to give these kids the love that they need and the education they need. Not only just sit them down and just give them some books and write on the board. No, we need to give these kids the love, the caring that they need. And put them
they need their life back.
Yes, they do. So, and Dr. Lewis helped Angel to stay on track and on the right track to graduate. I would recommend Campos or any other schools to the parents who are struggling with their children right now. And I know there's a lot of parents out there that they're struggling with their kids. They don't know what to do or where to, bring them to, because they don't know about this. But now that we're here and we're speaking about it, let's let them know that, that these children, they need us. And, we're here to fight, and I'm here to fight all the way, even though he graduated, but I'm still a parent. And I'm here to fight. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I want to say these are real stories, and I don't know how anybody got dry eyes in here, but I'm sitting up there like, oh, I can't cry, because these are real stories of success, right? But then I'm going to my speech. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Gibson. I am an alumni of Westtown, so I graduated. I'm the former principal of Westtown Academy. I'm a guardian of a student that attended Westtown Academy, and I'm on the board for YCCS, so hello. So I myself was a young teen, west side of Chicago, grew up, he had some trouble. I was going to a CPS school. I stopped attending. nobody came to look for me, so I would appreciate somebody jumping the gate looking for me. Nobody cared, and I felt it, so I stopped showing up. I ended up finding myself to, I don't even know if people know this, I first went to Truman, then I went to ASA, and then I found my way to Westtown. At Westtown, I feel like it was finally a situation where people cared. I didn't show up with a different attitude, but the people that I showed up to had a different attitude. I heard Piper say, my phone went dead, so my speech gone. But I heard Piper say about love. We love on the kids, and love covers a multitude. When I tell you it covers a multitude, it covers a multitude. I graduated from Westtown. Before there was SEL, people were doing SEL in the school with me 20 years ago. Before there was a post-secondary plan, people telling me, you gotta go to college, employment, the military, you're gonna have to do something. They forced me to go to college. I graduated from college. I went, okay, I graduated and I came back to serve the same kids that was me. I served for 15 years. I served those kids, and when I say love covers a multitude, it covers 3rd grade to 12th grade reading levels. It covers victims of violence and accused of violence, people that's being accused of violence. It covers a multitude. So I love the kids. I love YCCS. I am forever grateful. Anything they need me to do or show up to, I'm gonna show up to. And when you think back, and when I hear people say that they're giving them a contract to do these practices, please don't tell me you're giving somebody some practices to do, and the practices that they're doing works. They have worked for 20 years. I am a witness to it. I've seen it. I know they work, so please don't tell me. Please make it make sense. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Damon Revels. I'm a graduate from Campos, and so there was a point where I'd done the transferring from elementary and high school, transferring all over, moving all over the city, and eventually I just decided to leave school and work in construction full-time, far away from home. And I didn't really care anymore. It didn't seem like school cared too much, so I decided I want to make money. But after a while, I realized that I needed to go to school, and a lot of people I know from previous schools had told me about a school called Campos. And at first, I was reluctant about it. My parents didn't want me to get an alternative, so after a while, I ended up finding out from another friend that they go there, and they told me to go. And I was like, screw it. So I just wanted to try it out. I didn't want to just assume. But after a while I was there, everything was good. I was automatically welcomed this family. The principal was talking to me, because normally at other schools, I would never find myself speaking to my principal. And I'm grateful for her. But it got to the point there was home problems where eventually I ended up being on my own. And as soon as anyone at school caught wind of that, they all came to help. And eventually my teacher, Miss Adams, and then Sandra, everybody here from Campos, ended up, they said I needed a job and a way to support myself. So Michelle from our school had helped me get a job at YMCA with X and Shaylee back there. And I didn't even see you guys. But after working there, it's really been a help. And my teacher, my English 4 teacher, Miss Adams, had found a program for me so I can have my stability, because I had moved around 10 times in 2 years. So it was just rough. So now I have a place thanks to her, and I'm at Malcolm X for school. It just didn't seem like something that would ever be a reality, and it's crazy that it is. So to hear that YCCS, the conversation of it even being shut down, is just absurd to me. So I I had to come as soon as I found out this was happening. And yeah, thank you to YCCS and all of you here and everybody. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so hello, my name is Nariana Harris. I was a student of Association House High School. In fact, I'm from last year's graduating class of 2024. In which, in my opinion, is the best class and their favorite class, but they don't want to acknowledge it, but we ain't gonna get to that. I first came to Association House not knowing what to expect. I didn't know what I was walking into because my former school before Association House made me hate even the thought of high school. Before coming to Association House High School, I had a hard time keeping my grades up, my attendance. I had officially given up on high school. I enrolled in Association House and it changed the way I saw high school. It was different. From the teachers to the students, to the social workers, to even the principals. I grew to love this school. Everything that comes with it, the support at Association House was amazing. It helped me gain my confidence. Back. Before I came to Association House, I did not want to go to college whatsoever. I was like sad. I had lost my brother 2020, so it was just like I gave up. So now I am officially a student at Malcolm X College, working towards my degree in nursing. Coming to Association House was one of the best decisions I made. Being at Association House changed my entire outlook on life. And I can only thank the amazing staff and students that made my time here a blast. My time here was pleasant. From my first day to my last, this school is everything one needs, and if not, they will still try their best to. Thank you.
Can I just grab this? Oh, this is good. Hello, everybody. My name is Marvin Garcia. I've been the executive director of Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos for like maybe 8 years now. But I've been associated with the school since 1978. I had hair in my head then. And I was a teacher, I was a director for 17 years. And it's really profound to be here and listen to the parents and the students, because this is why we do the work. And those words are seeds that are planted, the work that we do, because we have leaders here today that have come from the work that we have done. And we also have people here that are pioneers, people that helped create the Alternative Schools Network, that helped create the Youth Connections Charter School in 1997. I was there. I was there 3 years before YCCS was created. I went with Jack Weiss, and we would get into an elevator at City Hall and go to the alderman. Hey, we want you to support this. The money should follow the students, because we were all running schools with workforce development money and there wasn't much of it. But we prevailed because we struggled. And we're going to prevail again because we're going to struggle. Okay? So there's another thing I need to tell you, because this does not need to be long. Okay? And that is, I live in this community of Humboldt Park. I live on Rockwell and Haddon. Been there for 35 years. My family has been in this community since 1974. I believe in all types of education. I believe in liberatory education. We talk about alternative education, but I've really been impacted by Paulo Freire and the works of education for liberation. And I believe that. And that's why at the age of 68, I still do this work. Now, here's the other point I want to tell you. In 2014, they closed 50 schools in the Chicagoland area, right? And I believe in neighborhood schools, but we fought to keep those schools open. I work for Albizu Campos, but I work with 17 schools in this community, and Albizu Campos is my flagship school. When I talk about hydroponics and the work around urban ag, I can point to my school because we have a great greenhouse, right? Yep. Our school has to be good because I'm working with Roberto Clemente High School, and I'm the chair of the Community Action Council to make and ensure that Clemente does not get closed either. And it is the work of the Youth Connections Charter School, an example of the Youth Connections Charter School that really gives me the power to work in my community to ensure that all schools are open. Because I know Melissa has her children at Moose, and I work with Moose. And I know that other people have children in elementary schools, and we also know when those elementary schools fail students, they're going to be the students that are coming to our schools. So we need YCCS. And wherever I go, because I have inroads to CPS, monthly I meet with the Family and Community Engagement Office of CPS, and I will bring the message that YCCS has to be renewed, but also it needs to be supported. And there must be equity. So now we're living in some challenging times. We already heard that the board members have resigned. We also are about to launch the election on the 5th for the school, the elected school board, right? But we also should push forward beyond this work because I believe we got this. We all got to get ready because Kamala's going to win, right? Kamala's going to win. And she's talking about opportunities, or what she calls it, I think maybe somebody has heard the term, the opportunity zone or opportunity. Somebody got that term for me? Economy. There you go. The opportunity economy. And already we're having discussions about it. And there is going to be a visit by Mr. Canada, Jeffrey Canada. I know he does a lot of work around Harlem Children's Zone and charter schools, okay? I believe in our charter. I believe that our charter is very important because we take the students from the streets and we provide them what they need. But working with CPS, I also know that it is hard when you talk about charters because they say they steal the kids from the neighborhood schools. We don't. We take them from the streets. So it's really difficult. And I'm just going to give you this one example. We are working on a Department of Labor proposal for our youth bills program that we have. And we have our director here. So we need letters of support from different entities. One of them are from unions. And what do we get? We do not get a letter. Why? Because we're a charter. And a lot of the unions are connected to CTU, and they won't give us a letter. We need to also have the fight to let CTU know that we are programs that support young people, and this is a charter that they should support. So that's my spiel. So thank you very much. All right.
Hello, everyone. If I didn't introduce myself before, I'm going to introduce myself again. My name is Renee Williams. I am the Social Justice Freedom School program coordinator at YCCS. And it's a little different speed right now because I'm not an alumni. But my story is kind of unique. I moved from Milwaukee to here 6 years ago, not really knowing what I'm gonna do. I started as a substitute teacher at one of the YCCS schools on the south side, and I didn't know what to expect. I worked my way up into the classroom as a full-time classroom teacher, then as an instructional lead, then as an assistant principal, and then I moved over to the network at their headquarters on 35th Street. And I want to leave you with about two things. A couple of sayings. It takes a village. Everything I've heard so far is true to that saying. Here's your village, here's the children in it, and here's the schools that support it. And when we say schools are a part of this community, you hear it through and through for everybody that has come through here. Second thing is Ubuntu. We are because of you, okay? I am because of us. And that is so ringing true through everything and everyone who's saying this. And finally, for me, I've toured the world. I've been to every continent, and I've gone through a lot of schooling, okay? I have degrees, but I've learned so much in being a part of YCCS that I couldn't learn from being in a classroom as a pre-service teacher. I learned how to touch kids and how to be there for kids. I learned that I'm not a savior. I'm just a guide. I'm just a person to help them to the next part of their life and give them the opportunity that they need to break those barriers that we talk so much about. Because we don't talk about the barriers that are in front of our children that they face every single day and how they have to overcome it. And also their parents. How many of us have had parents come inside their offices and say, I don't know what to do with my kid. And I'm like, I don't know what to do either, but we're going to get through it together. And we show that every single day by showing up. A lot of us talk about SEL and culture and climate. I never knew what that was until I went to a YCCS school and saw it come out in their walls, in the way they talk to the kids, in their community circles that they have every day. And students come into the principal's office and say, I can't do this. And the principal's like, yes, you can, because you ain't going home today. We ain't calling your mama. You're going to make it through. Or stopping at their doors and saying, why are you not in school today? So my education and my part of this community is learning so much of being a better teacher, of being a better leader. Because like I said, I went to school and I haven't learned anything until I got here and I became the person that I am with the education that I am because of all of you. And I want to thank you guys for that. And also, in closing, we created CPS's accountability. Because with us, you wouldn't have accountability. Know this, because we took the kids that nobody else wanted and graduated them and put them back into society, and you can say, yes, they're citizens, because that's what our job was, and we did it, and we did it well, and we're going to continue to do it. Thank you.
So we're going to improvise our schedule. First off, I want to make sure that everyone that came to speak, we want to make sure that we hear from you, but we have some time constraints. And so we're asking that people keep it to a minute. But in the interim, we're going to have the elected official, Vice Mayor, Alderman Burnett come up. And then afterwards, we're going to have Sheila Benson do the call of action and allow other people to do testimonies. Okay? So he really needs no introduction. He is no stranger to the west side of Chicago, grew up in Capri Green, have lived his life for the past 30 years advocating for people. I want to say personally, I tell him how much in public I just love his heart for the people. He has been a huge advocate for our organization, Greater Westtown Project. Anytime we need him to show up, he is present. I know in terms of the services that we provided, he was instrumental in us receiving $3.1 million of TIF funds so that we could get our new building. And that's just a small thing of so many things that he has done on the west side of the community to ensure that people that are underserved get the resources that they need. So I tell him all the time how much I have so much respect and love for him. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over.
Well, I don't need to say anything now. But thank you very much. So, you know, I have a heart for this school specifically. I was there when they opened up. I think I may have spoken to most of the graduations that they have had. I've spoke to the students in the classrooms. You know, some of you all know my journey, know my story. I grew up in Cabrini, made a mistake when I was a teenager, was incarcerated, served time in prison, got educated in prison, came home, got involved, then got a pardon from the governor. So, you know, I have a special spot in my heart for young people who may be different, right? Who may need a second chance. You understand what I'm saying? And you all give folks a second chance. And when I'm in those classrooms and when I'm at those graduations, I'm looking at those young people and I'm seeing myself. And I'm thinking about, you know, if I would have had the love and the appreciation and the people embracing me like you all embrace the young people, I probably wouldn't have went to jail, right? You know, all of us are different. A lot of young people are different. A lot of young people, you can't fit everybody in the same slot. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot fit all these young people in the same slot. Some folks learn different than others. Some persons need to be in different environments. Some folks need different mentors to mentor them. You all give the CPS students an alternative. You know, you're taking all of the students that most of the schools kick out. And if you don't take them, then where would they be? You know, so she don't tell you, I followed her. When she left Greater West Town, she went to another school.
YCLA.
Right? So she goes to another school, but let me tell you, when she went to the other school, I followed her because I had a nephew. I had a nephew who got in trouble. I had a nephew who couldn't go to the school that he was going to because he was in trouble. And I needed somewhere for him to go. And I went to see her, and she helped him to get in school. I mean, how many parents, how many folks need that kind of service? How many people, and the thing is, and this is what I told her. I'm like, look, I need him to come with you, because if he don't come with you, I'm scared I may lose him. He may lose his life. You all are saving lives. In some situations, there are life or death situations. And, you know, no academia could really understand that. You got to be from the neighborhood to know what's going on. You got to be from the neighborhood to know about these young people, know about these families and the challenges that they go through. And you got to be from the neighborhood to know how to deal with it, right? So I support what you all are doing, and I'm going to do everything I can. And we've said this on the city council floor to try to make sure you guys stay in place and continue doing what you're doing. I don't see why they won't give you more students. I don't know why they won't give you more money. I don't understand what this is about, you know, but what I do know, this is not a want. This is a need. This is a need for our community. This is a need for our families. This is a need for our children. This is a need for their future. You know, and like I said, to me, it's a life or death situation. You know, and a lot of us don't know. Some of these kids can't even walk down certain blocks. You know, or a young lady have a baby. You know, you want to give them another opportunity to get it right. And when these kids come to your schools, they asking for a chance to get it right. A lot of them don't come just because their parents in them. A lot of them come because they want an opportunity to continue school. We need to continue to give them an option and an opportunity to be able to continue school. You know, and I don't understand what's wrong with that. What is wrong with that? I don't get it. You know, so Whatever I can do to help with the situation, I don't care if it's the mayor, the governor, the president of the United States, I got to tell the truth. And the truth is, I know in my soul that these kids need this opportunity. I've done lived it, I understand it, I have relatives that's involved with it, and if it wasn't for places like yours, those folks wouldn't have an opportunity to get their lives back on track. So thank you for what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now I am going to bring up our fierce leader, the executive director of Youth Connection Charter School, Sheila Vincent. But before she comes up, I don't even know the words. As a Black woman in leadership, leading the charge for so many underserved youth, I just want to take this moment to give you your flowers and recognize that it is under your leadership that we have transformed lives. I remember I started at YCCS, Westtown Academy High School, as a math teacher. And shortly after that, I went to administration in the leadership of the school. And I remembered attending my first principal's meeting, and I didn't have pearls on, but I was clutching my pearls. Like, who is this woman, right? Just unapologetically herself, right? Speaking the truth. And we know if anything's gonna change, we gotta live in reality. So she is a catalyst for change. And I know she says, hey, it's time for the young people to take it over, to take it over, to take it over. But even now in this struggle and fight, she is still fiercely leading. And so I just want to give her the respect, the love, appreciation, and I just really hope that you're able to receive the impact that you have had on so many people's lives, adults and young people. And I say, on behalf of the community, thank you, Ms. Vincent. Thank you. And so with that, I'm going to bring her up.
See, you're going to make me cry. I don't do tears. I just, okay. Right. You're going to make me cry. I don't do tears. I want to thank everybody for coming out. And I knew that if the schools would like to organize these events, that the truth was going to come out, right? And they were going to tell you exactly what it is. And that's what's happened. I could not ask for a better outcome than what I saw here today. I guess I was supposed to talk about the history, but there was a lot of conversation about the history already. But luckily for me and Jack and Larry and Marvin and Jose, is he still here? Here he goes. And Jose, we've been here for all of it. I mean, I remember when Compost was over on, what's that, Cullerton? Claremont. And then got gentrified out and then built the building that is now on Division Street. I remember that. We remember that because there is a collective we. Yes. The collective we is this group, yes. And it's the South Side and this far South Side, Mid-South Side, and the West Side schools who have worked together for all of these years. I remember when there was a GD program started at Association House by the former board president from CPS, Miguel Duvalier, that created the first program here at Association House. Same thing with Greater Westtown. When Bill Levy left the Association House and created a GED program at Greater West Town that then turned into the school. Not to mention the Spirit is not here, but a school that is named after a Puerto Rican universally recognized educator. I'm going back to 1975. I'm going back to 1980. I'm going back to 1995, 1997 when YCCS started. So here's the thing, what people don't seem to get, yes, we're a charter. Charter is a bad word. They say we take money from the school. We don't take money from the school. We barely got any money from the district, right? We started with 1,000 kids. We were capped at 1,000 kids for 10 years. 10 years while Noble grew and CICS grew their schools, we were capped at 1,000 kids. Talk about equity, right? But we hung in there and we did the work and we served the kids and we kept on moving and we're here now. We've always been, and I'm saying the collective we, because it takes everybody. It takes the student, it takes the teachers, it takes the principals, it takes the Marvins, it takes the community activists, it takes the aldermen, it takes the advocates like the folks from ASN, it takes the other programs that support the schools, right, from ASN. That didn't happen by accident, that happened by work. So, if I had one thing to say to CPS, I think you all said it. I have to say it. Thank you, I don't have to say it. If I had one thing to say, is that you cannot claim what is not yours. You can't take what you don't own, what you did not build, what you did not create, what you did not struggle for. You can't take it. It's not yours. Now, what we can do is that we can work together. We can be collaborative. We can figure out a way where YCCS can continue to stay and build from this point on. You can tell the high school principals to go on and refer students to YCCS because that has been the relationship for decades. But here's what's not going to happen. We're not going to let CPS destroy what took us 50 plus years to build. So I know I'm supposed to say something else, but I think this is good, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a couple of other testimonies. I'm going to say leave it at a minute. But I am going to say that, everyone came here to share their story. And so I think it's important for us to hear that. So I want to be respectful for the people that came and prepared the remarks, but I am going to say leave it within a minute.
Teacher, tell them that they can record
Yes.
their testimony.
Yes.
And then send it.
Okay, so Ms. Vincent just stated that you can record your testimony. I know for all the speakers today, we asked you to write your testimony down because we're going to use that to flood all the platforms to let people know the impact that YCCS, all the wonderful work that YCCS has done. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over. I know we have some community people here. Sankofa is one of our community partners that's going to speak for a minute, and then we're going to close it out.
Everybody, my name is Crystal Callan. I'm the Gun Violence Prevention Program Coordinator at Sankofa. This is my partner, Tanya Reeves. She's the Gun Violence Prevention Program Manager at Sankofa. We'd like to thank Mr. Wagner for inviting us out today. We're going to keep it very short. We will send in our testimonial because we have a big one. But I will say this, we love coming over to West Town working art therapy with the children. That's what we're doing now. And as much as we go there to help them, they help us too. Those children, they have come to tell us, Miss Crystal, this is my favorite class. Like, are you going to be here today? Are you going to be here tomorrow? It's really exciting. My favorite project that I've done with them so far is I asked them to think about the most important person in their life and to draw that person or something that represented that person. So I'll keep that as a surprise for you all in my testimonial when I send it in, but it was awesome. It was beautiful. I'll let my partner say a few words.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again, West Town and YCCS, for allowing Sankofa to be a part of your village. It is very important to us that we are impacting your students, making sure that they get what they need. They want to go to school and get an education, but a lot of them don't feel that they can. And I like the fact that YCCS has created an opportunity to allow that for them. Some of those children were at the verge of giving up, and we giving them new life. I think the fact that they're allowing them to do art therapy with us. Art therapy, some people think, oh, they're just in there drawing and painting. It's very soothing, relaxing, and therapeutic to them, and it allows them to wind down. Like, they may be going through a bad day when they come in the classroom, but by the time they leave, they're feeling ready to go and get their education in the other classes. So we appreciate being a part of your village, and we will promise to do the best we can to keep those kids going and in a positive mood. Thank you.
We promise.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep this brief. I'm T.O. Hardiman, president of Violence Interrupters, not-for-profit organization, and also the former director of Ceasefire Illinois. I just want to say on behalf of YCCS, I support the process all the way. I've been working some conflict resolution sessions and restorative justice sessions at YCS different campuses, and we have a 90% track record with resolving conflicts one day at a time. And with an unemployment rate for African American young men in Chicago between the ages of 16 and 24, it's about 80%. Supporting YCCS and make sure they have the autonomy is a no-brainer. There's nothing to really think about. It must be done each and every day here in the city of Chicago, right? So I want to say this as well. Right now, we have what you might say an issue with the gun violence in Chicago, and you have to see the looks in these young men and women's faces when they graduate from the YCCS schools. Every graduation, like Principal Wagner was talking about, and Principal Piper was talking about, it's about the young people, for real, right? So, I'm one of them champions. I'm one of them guys, stand-up guys in the community. So this is like mandatory for me to support YCCS. And it's not about money for me personally. It's about supporting what I see some good work being done all across the board in the Latino community, African American community, all throughout the universe, even the Caucasian community. So we have to stand up like the champions we are and support the process. So on behalf of Violence Interrupters, I stand with you all, and we must work harder to get this violence down in Chicago, but it starts in academia, right? Right now, YCCS has what you call the empirical evidence. They had a quantitative and qualitative data to back up their success rates. It's very, very important because here we work from models all the time. They have a model, so why try to change the model right now? I teach as an adjunct professor at North. I also teach as an adjunct professor at North Park University in the field of restorative justice and criminology. So, we have academic leaders as well. We're not just on the streets, we what you call intellectual thought leaders. But YCCS has been putting it down for decades, and we got to get behind them and support them all the way. I remember I mediated a conflict at YCCS West about last school semester with some women that got into it. That's a female conflict. And I tell you something, when they saw me there with some of my staff, one lady came in with some gloves on there. She was ready to fight for her daughter. She said, we cool now. We worked it out. And them girls beginning, they noticed that there was a real brother on location. I just want to say it. And you got women that get down too. I ain't going to take that from the ladies. But that conflict has been cool ever since then. It's been since last semester. Now, the girls agreed not to speak to each other, but they don't fight each other. That's how it worked itself out, right? So people can rest easy. Even over here at the Association House, we got a real solid track record working with the young people. So with that being said, I'm not going to take up much more time, but let's all come together and support the process, all right? Peace. Peace. Yeah. All right.
I want to thank everyone for coming today. I'm going to lead with the word that the work must go on. We are still in the fight. But if there's no struggle, there's no progress. And so we gotta remember that. We live another day to fight another day. I wanna thank everybody that planned this. So the running joke has been, Keisha's in charge, right? But I wanna say thank you, Ms. Hobson. She has been the thread of making sure that things are moving. So I wanna say thank you, Ms. Hobson. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Piper. I know that we kind of bypassed Aspira, but I know they're actually working on an audit, so they couldn't be here today. I want to thank Larry Vaughn. I want to thank Wagner. I want to thank everybody, YCCS staff that in the background made copies, made sure that things happen. Thank you.
All right, did you all hear something good today? Did you hear something that other people should hear about today? Do you have something that you can fight for today? Well, we want you to start by fighting with your social media. Make sure you get on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and tell them about what you heard and the importance of the work that these schools are doing with Youth Connection Charter School. Amen. Amen. Y'all have a great afternoon.